WNYC's Matt Katz. Thanks a lot, Matt.
Thank you, Janae.
WNYC supporters include the International Center of Photography presenting Photo Book Fest, September 6th, 7th, and 8th, featuring 70 local and international publishers. More information at pbf.icp.org. Leadership support for WNYC's local and global news coverage is provided by the Jerome L. Green Foundation, partnering with organizations to promote justice and equality for all New Yorkers.
With the enhanced WNYC app, you can do it all. Listen to WNYC Radio live, catch up on podcasts, and read stories from Gothamist and NPR. Download the WNYC app now at wnyc.org/app.
WNYC is independent public media, here to serve you and our entire community. We're listener-supported and proud of it. Financial contributions from listeners like you make our work possible. When you give to WNYC, you're helping to fund the news you count on and the conversations yet to come. Please, become a member now. Visit WNYC.org and click on Donate.
Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC News Hour. Let's check in and see what they're working on. What's up, London?
Good morning, WNYC. I'm James Menendez. Today on NewsHour, Israel's carrying out a major military operation in the occupied West Bank, one of its biggest for years. We'll hear what's happening on the ground and why. Also, how the world's underestimated the risk of a nuclear accident during the Russia-Ukraine conflict. That's BBC NewsHour at 9 on WNYC.
75 degrees and a few clouds out there this hour, but it'll be mostly sunny throughout the day with a high around 94 degrees. That's right, it'll be a hot one. There's a slight chance of rain later tonight. It'll be mostly cloudy with a low around 68.
Will the chant be chip, chip, hooray later today?
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Bitwarden Password Manager, designed to offer secure password management at this summer's popular events and festivals from any seat, section, or sideline. Available at bitwarden.com.
I'm David Brancaccio. NVIDIA was good at making very fast graphics chips for computer gaming that turned out to be great for artificial intelligence. The stock has skyrocketed in the world of ChatGPT, Gemini, and Bard. But investors have noticed that the actual profits from AI have tended to lag the excitement about AI. Today, NVIDIA will release its profits, and we'll see how much of this underlying hardware AI companies are still buying. Marketplace's Nova Safo is here with more.
Well, they're buying a lot, and we've already heard from Alphabet, Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon, all reporting strong revenue growth, but all but Meta of those companies have seen their share prices decline, though, over the last month, and that's because the bar for AI revenues is very high. Companies that might stand to benefit from artificial intelligence advances have seen their valuations skyrocket this year and last, and no company has benefited more than NVIDIA. Now investors are waiting to see results from its latest quarter. The chipmaker has had exceptional sales growth, previously reporting a tripling of revenues. That's likely slowed to a doubling, which would be the envy of most companies. But here we are wondering, David, if it's enough for Wall Street.
Any tips, Nova, on what to listen for today from NVIDIA?
Absolutely. One key thing is how much they're spending to ramp up production of their advanced chips, because right now they can't make those chips fast enough. Also, there have been reports that NVIDIA is behind schedule in releasing its latest generation chips, so we're waiting to hear more about that. The trick is that NVIDIA's market value is currently at $3 trillion, and it's got there fast, so it has a very strong effect on the S&P 500, David, and any slight perceived surprise in its earnings report at this point could move markets quite substantially. So we're waiting to see about that.
All right, Nova, thank you. In the woulda, coulda, shoulda category, if you had bought NVIDIA the day after New Year's, that money would have gone up 166% as of this morning. Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ futures are all down less than 0.1% at the moment. Let's see if there's your electricity budget, there's your gas, rent, and if kids, the Lego budget. There's news Lego revenue shot up 13% in the first half of this year. Lego, tied to the video game Fortnite, is a big part of this. Lego sales were a little bit more tepid in China, though. Lego of Denmark says it is making progress taking the virgin fossil fuel out of its stuff. A renewable resin tests well for the bricks, but it's expensive at a time old-school plastic is especially cheap. National Football League owners have just voted to allow a list of investor groups, private equity, to buy up to 10% of any of the teams. There's a consortium of 5 funds that include big names like the Blackstone Group and Carlyle and some other standalone firms eligible now. Private equity is already huge in the round ball kind of football, international soccer.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by The Economist, devoted to providing independent journalism that makes sense of the news shaping the world. More at economist.com or with The Economist app, newsletters, and podcasts.
It's August 28th. My colleague and special correspondent Lee Hawkins has been exploring how this date keeps showing up at turning points in the civil rights movement and in his own family. August 28th is part of our economic history as well. Lee, welcome.
Hello.
The 28th, that's Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech delivered on the Washington Mall, 1963. That speech did include economic issues.
Well, yes, absolutely. And here's a line that some people have forgotten from the speech.
100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity.
King, as an orator, was contrasting the wealth and the economic growth experienced by the nation with the persistent poverty among Black Americans.
Same day, August 28th, 1833, the Slavery Abolition Act, a landmark in ending slavery within the British Empire. But this, of course, shaped history in the U.S.
Oh, very much so. The abolition disrupted economies reliant on enslaved labor, particularly in the Caribbean and the American South. And the transition to paid labor really led to labor shortages and financial losses for former slaveholders, but it also emboldened abolitionists on American soil to see what was possible.
And here it is again, August 28th. This time the year is 1955. The murder of 14-year-old Emmett Till. This crime had a profound impact on the civil rights movement.
Yes, a very painful day for America in general, not just Black America, but it was a catalyst for the civil rights movement because the brutality of his death led to his mother's decision for an open casket funeral. And that really hit the news wires and shocked the nation because people were able to see all over the nation and all over the world how brutal Jim Crow was. Not just that Jim Crow was segregation, but Jim Crow was rooted in racial violence and systemic injustice. And that outrage from Emmett Till's death really mobilized the efforts to challenge segregation laws and to push for broader civil rights reforms.
Again, August 28th, 2008, Barack Obama accepts the Democratic nomination for president. August 28th, 2016, Colin Kaepernick's protest during the national anthem at an NFL game. But you, Lee, you have a personal connection to the date?
Well, yeah, it's my birthday, first of all, but also, unfortunately, my great-great-grandfather was murdered on August 28, 1914, and it was a dispute over livestock and land in Alabama. He was a Black man who was murdered by a white man who was never held to justice for the crime. My family lost its land as a result of that racial violence, and that was something that played a role in separating families from their assets throughout Jim Crow. It just was a terrible day for my family in history, but once again, we're able to bring this date to light because it's a very tough day because we had the Emmett Till situation, but we also had the Dr. King speech and abolition, and there were positive things that happened on that day. So it's a very powerful day in general for Black Americans and in American history.
And you have a forthcoming book, I Am Nobody's Slave, How Uncovering My Family's History Set Me Free, as well as the podcast, What Happened in Alabama. Special correspondent Lee Hawkins, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, David.
I'm David Brancaccio. This is the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.
Support